Hello and welcome to another HWM Caterham video. Today it's a bit of a different style. We're out here in the Boxhill, Surrey Natural Hill Beauties, and I'm joined here by Simon. Simon.
Sean.
Nice to see you.
And you, thank you very much. Very well, thank you.
Good. You join me here with the CSR 20. Now, this is a bit of a different car for Caterham. It's one of 20 models for the UK roads. And as an avid customer yourself of Caterham, I thought I'd bring you down here today just to do some walking around and talking of this beautiful thing. So, do you want to start off by introducing yourself?
Yes, thank you. I appreciate the offer to come down today, so
Pleasure.
thank you very much for that. Yes, my name's Simon, so I've been an avid owner of Caterham for many years. Probably initially even when the factory was based in Gatwick. So over the past probably 10 years, I've owned numerous Caterhams.
Very nice.
Anything from the sort of basic 1600K series right the way up to the 620. So seeing the opportunity today with the CSR was a great opportunity for me, particularly with my passion for Caterham.
And your expertise as well. So across those many years, what has been your sort of favourite engine of the lineup that you've had?
I suppose the good thing about Caterham is it's always based on the same platform. So even if at entry level, you probably get 90-95% experience of the high-end cars.
Correct, yeah, absolutely.
So in terms of engineering, the 620 was the most exciting car I've driven.
Definitely was, yeah. That was obviously the 2-litre Duratec with the supercharger on. So this car obviously does feature that 2-litre Duratec. Hasn't got a supercharger, but it still produces sort of 210, so that's close to sort of the 420 mark. You had much experience with 420s as well yourself?
Yes, I've had several 420s, and I think, again, that's probably in a sweet spot of the Caterham range in terms of price and performance as well.
That's it, absolutely. So obviously the CSR only comes in the wider S5 chassis. Have you ever owned any S5 chassis before, or have you been primarily an S3 sort of man?
I've primarily been S3, so it will be nice to experience a wider chassis.
That's it.
I think it probably enables the car to have a bit more stability on the road.
Correct.
So it'd be quite interesting to see how it drives.
That's it. So obviously the CSR has been sort of reintroduced as their new Grand Tourer car, so for sort of longer distances, heading down to south of France or even Spain. So doing so, and they've obviously accommodated the newer suspension. So start off the front, on these ones you've obviously got the new inboard mounted push rod action suspension. So visually to you, how does that look compared to anything you've had before?
Well, it looks quite different actually, and obviously with the wishbones, they are of a flatter design on the wishbones.
So this has obviously been spec'd with the Aero wishbones on these ones, which was an option on most of the packs of the previous generation cars. But apart from that, it looks quite cool. And obviously,
it does, yes. And I think
looking inboard, you could probably just about see the internals.
I think that's the exciting bit, is actually seeing how that works and how it performs on the road.
That's it. Get some more visual details on this one is obviously the CSR style wings. Now they've copied the sort of design from back in 2005 when the CSR was first launched on the CSR 260. Do you think that works nowadays, especially in the satin carbon that's in at the moment?
I think the profile of them looks very good actually. I think previously when they had the previous design, the front wheels always looked to be so big.
Yeah, didn't quite fill that gap.
No, and these seem to fit the wheel very well because there's a minimum gap. It just seems to suit the profile and the style of wheel that you've come up with.
Aggressive.
It does, yes.
And the new Vulcan 15-inch alloys, what do you think of those as well?
Yeah, I think they look spectacular actually.
That's it.
They fill the arches nicely. They're not too wide. They've got a good profile, so that enables the driving to be a lot more pleasurable rather than a very low profile tyre.
That's it. And obviously they're on the new Toyo Proxys R888R tyres, which is the newer Caterham tyres now replacing the Avons. Have you had much experience on those yet?
No, I've never driven a car with a Toyo, so that'd be quite a good experience as well.
Yes. And then front end, obviously 620 style nose cone on these. Now you obviously had a 620 in the past. Does this sort of look quite nice, complement the car quite nicely?
Yes, I think with a 620 style nose cone, it sets it above and looking different to the other range.
Yeah, I think it brings a much more modern look to Caterham.
It does, yes.
You know, there's not a lot of changes that happen over the years since they've been sort of building these. So any sort of updated modern-esque looks, I think, does really help with the cars. You're obviously on the new style LED lights on these ones, which have been painted in body colour, carbon indicator pods with the clear lens pack. And don't know if you've noticed down here on the grille, you've also got the Union Jack painted grille with the white 7 in there. Does that look quite nice to you?
Yeah, I think that's a great feature, and it makes it it complements the car, particularly in this style of colour.
Absolutely.
But it does sort of add a focus point to the nose cone.
It does indeed. It does indeed. And then moving on through the rest of the car, again, nothing much has changed in terms of design-wise. You've still got your side exit exhaust, so you do still hear that lovely 2-litre popping and banging as well through the gears. But apart from that, overall sort of styling, what do you think it looks overall?
I think generally it's really, this particular colour scheme is very much up to date at the moment.
It does, yeah.
And I think with the painted roll bar and the stripes, and with the front as well, it just complements the whole car and gives it a nice sort of look to it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, interior-wise, they've done a lot of changes, a lot of updates as well, but it does remain very Caterham-esque. So, visually appealing, what do you think of it so far?
I think it's very visually appealing. I think they've used some nice materials, and there's a mixture of materials as well. So it's not all of one type of material.
That's it. So on the seats, they've done premium leather with some nice red stitching, and they've embroidered the CSR 20 on the back rest as well. And it's a partial, so it's got part leather, and you've also got part perforated Alcantara. Alcantara does follow it through as well around the gearbox and handbrake gaiters. But apart from that, it does look really cool. And again, they've done the comfort seats, given the fact that they want to make it more sort of a Grand Tourer car, make it a bit more comfortable. Being lowered floors, you also do get the deeper pile carpet on the rear bulkhead and the footwells as well, and the lovely dash, which I'm sure you're used to back in the 620, so they've done a more modern version of that.
I think the 620 dash is always visually very appealing. It looks different, it looks special.
It does, absolutely does, yeah. And I think it looks a lot more modern as well, especially finished in this lovely satin effect carbon. What do you think personally? Would you be something this how you spec your one as well, or what would you
Yes,
check?
definitely. I like the satin effect. It's not too much in your face. It just complements the whole styling, and it makes it a nice place to be. And you can see the way it's situated on the seats.
Yeah.
It looks inviting, it looks comfortable.
There you go. And again, with the CSR 20 being such a limited production, you would also get a lovely plaque at the back there, finished again in carbon, because it's a very Caterham thing, isn't it, for carbon? But what we've got to do now, we've set up a camera inboard so we can get some on-the-road driving. So, you know, the whole premise of this car is to be a lot more comfortable, a lot more agile on the road, especially with the really cool suspension. So I think the best thing to do now is to jump in and get going down the hill.
Fantastic, look forward
Let's do it. Right, so now on the inside of the CSR, doing your very first run down Boxhill. Initial thoughts, how's it feel so far?
Feels really good. The steering feels really good. It's very direct, but has a lightness to it as well.
It does, yeah. Again, I think they've played around a bit with the sort of steering angles as well, just so it makes it a bit easier for sort of long distance.
Got a nice turning circle.
Exactly. Now, obviously, going down these bends, we've got lots of twisties, lots of turnings, long straights, and also the infamous speed bumps. How have you done the speed bumps so far? How's the suspension feel going over them?
It actually handles the speed bumps really well.
Absolutely. I think what they've done with the car, they've set it up such a way that you can sort of glide over the road essentially. Obviously, the inboard front suspension is quite nippy at the front end, and the rear suspension on these is independently controlled. So essentially, each corner is doing its own thing at the back, makes it a lot more manoeuvrable, and a lot easier and a lot comfortable. Can you feel that totally different from the standard suspension on Caterhams?
Yeah, very much so. It's much more confident. It feels really good. Look, we're hitting a speed bump here at a reasonable speed. Glides over it really well.
Obviously, you've got some twisties coming up here, so let me know how it feels when you go around. Seats comfortable?
Seats are really comfortable, actually, yeah.
Good.
So again, we're at a reasonable speed here.
There you are.
Takes them with ease.
Straight over.
This would be a good opportunity to test the steering feel on a tight left-hander here.
That's it. This is almost pretty much going to be a full lock sort of turn.
Good turning angle.
That's it. Took that
Nice and direct.
And acceleration-wise, does it feel any different than your 420s?
It's longer geared, so it's perfect for long distance and cruising.
That's it. And can you see yourself doing a lot of long distance in a car like this, or would you be opting for something else in the range?
No, it's a combination of sort of the relaxing for cruising, but you've still got the heart of a Caterham.
That's it.
So you've got the performance, but then you've also got the ride quality, and being able to spend many hours in it in reasonable comfort.
Definitely a lot smoother, that's for sure.
Definitely a lot smoother, yes.
You still get that lovely Duratec sound as well. And obviously being the Series 5 chassis, more cabin space, better armrest, so do you see yourself bringing the passenger with you, or are you going to be filling the space up with luggage if you do go one?
No, you definitely have a passenger with you. They feel a lot more comfortable as well. Okay. It's just a nice place to be.
Go left out of here.
The steering just is remarkable. It's just so, it's direct,
yeah,
but not overly heavy.
So for day-to-day driving as well, obviously it's sunshine days like today.
Absolutely.
Might be taken out if you had a lineup of 420Rs, 620Rs. Would this be something that you pick over the rest of the lineup, or would you go for something else as well?
Well, you've got a combination of everything really, and the best of both worlds. You know, we're going to be going on the motorway, see how that drives. Still the heart of a Caterham on the twisties, but nice steering wheel feel.
So now obviously we're on a dual carriageway. We're in fourth, cruising. Feel nice? How's it sound? How's it feel?
Feels really nice. Very stable on the road, lovely feel to it on the road, not too harsh. The independent suspension soaks up the bumps really well.
That's it.
Still feels very direct like Caterham should, but the experience is delightful. It really is nice.
Good. Do you think they've nailed it on the head on this one, or is there any points that you think they should have brought back as well with the CSR?
I think they've got the mixture just about right, I believe. You know, we're cruising now in fifth. We're doing 50 miles an hour. It feels very direct.
Absolutely. So we're now just approaching the roundabout, doing third exit. Let me know how it goes round the corner. Give it a little bit of gas. See how it slips out on you, because obviously Caterham's are quite famous for having a very loose back end if you want them to.
Very confident.
And you see that independent rear suspension now working at its top tip best. You know, the weight transfer on this, one corner goes down, one corner goes up, and that's what really helps with the stability on this car.
Yes, you definitely feel it in the drivetrain. You can tackle those corners with ease.
That's it. And do you think having the 2 litre at 210 brake horsepower is the perfect engine for this? Would you have put more, a bit less? What engine would you have gone for if you were to go for anything different?
Everybody says you can always have more,
Very true.
but then maybe more isn't usable. This is a good spread of power, it's good usable power.
That's it.
I think it's just perfect combination really.
No, I completely agree. I think if we've ended up with the sort of the 620 configuration, 210 engine with an extra 100 from the supercharger, I think that would have made it a bit too crazy. Again, this car is trying to become the new sort of touring version of a Caterham, if you like. Longer distances, more usable power, as you've said, and easier to handle as well.
Yes.
Obviously, being the Series 5, you get bigger boot space, bigger fuel tank as well, so those long distances, you'll sort of eat up the miles a lot easier. No, you can definitely feel the refinement in this car, obviously with nice premium leather everywhere. I think it feels a lot nicer to be sat in.
It does, it's a very nice place to be. I think, as you said earlier, I think it's the combination of the independent suspension which really makes it.
That's it.
Makes it very compliant. It feels very nice in the road. But ultimately, still a Caterham, still has that performance.
That's it. Pedigree's still there.
Yeah, the pedigree's still there. The engineering behind it is still there.
How about the chassis? Does it feel any stiffer to you? Do you notice anything drastically different from, let's say, a 420 RSV? Did you notice any changes there?
No, I don't say it's any stiffer. It just feels much more compliant. More rigid,
yeah.
But not too stiff. So it's very comfortable in here. So you can still use it for spirited driving, but
absolutely,
when you're doing touring, it's still a comfortable place to be.
No, I completely agree with that one. Now, the big thing that people say in terms of the reviews and, you know, the general opinion of people for this sort of car is the price point. Now, obviously, starting at the late 79 mark, is that something that you'd ever see yourself jumping into, or do you feel it's worth that sort of money? What do you think personally?
I think it's always going to be a sticking point price,
yes.
But ultimately it is a special car. It is limited numbers.
That's right, yeah.
And I think, you know, if you really want that Caterham and you're really going to be using it for touring, then you definitely notice within the suspension. I think the suspension does make the car.
Absolutely, I think that's the sort of the unique selling point of this car, is bringing back that 20-year celebration of the CSR.
Yes.
And obviously bringing in this updated suspension. Would you like to see the suspension brought over to future models, or how would you want to keep it sort of unique to the CSR then?
I think it could be developed into future models in terms of how it sort of improves the performance and the drivability. Ultimately, I suppose that does come down to cost.
Yeah, that's it.
But it's a step up from the traditional suspension, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Having never driven a CSR before, I didn't really know what to expect, but yeah, this suspension is a revelation in it.
Yeah. The old CSR obviously had the whole different interior style. Do you think that this works for this car? Would you have wanted to see that brought back for this year's one?
I prefer the traditional layout, dash layout, as we have here.
Yes.
Personally, I'm not so keen on that tubular style chassis.
Yeah.
I like the traditional look of the Caterham car, and certainly with the 620.
Good.
Layout, it's modern, it's up to date, it looks very nice. So that preference would be my style.
Right, so now coming up to the the end of the longer half-hour drive. How does it feel? Have you settled into it nicely, or?
Yeah, I have actually. I feel very comfortable in it. It's
good.
It's been a really good driving experience, something quite new to me. Although, as I said earlier, I've driven many Caterhams.
Yes.
This does feel very different, and I think that's all down to the independent suspension.
That's it. The suspension, you know, especially on a car like this, where there's nothing to sort of lose that energy, suspension is a very big focus on a car of this nature. So yeah, I completely agree. I think it does feel different, especially as a passenger. You know, we've done twisties, we've done long 50s, 20s, and now obviously we're just sort of through the high street. So out of all those sort of different segments of road and speeds, where do you think the car excels at?
Well, it's very competent on a normal road. I think that's where this car is meant to be. Long journeys,
yeah.
It's very comfortable with the independent suspension. The driving experience is fantastic. How, as we said earlier, it's still a Caterham through and through.
Yeah.
But you've got the best of everything.
So, Simon, back at the dealership now. How was the drive down through Boxhill, all the surrounding roads, and to back here? What did you think of the car aesthetically, any of the changes, and also the overall drive as well? What did you think?
I think we've been very fortunate today of having some great weather and some great roads.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So that's enabled us sort of to try out the car to its full potential.
Yeah.
We've had a mixture of twisties, we've had a mixture of motorway.
Yeah.
And definitely, for me, the suspension is the key part of this car, which makes it so special.
Absolutely.
You can see it working, you can feel it working. You've got a great turn in, and the whole experience has been really enjoyable, so thank you for that.
My pleasure. And aesthetically speaking, you're happy with the design of the new sort of CSR, the wings, the paint options, the interior especially as well?
I think, as we said earlier, this is a striking colour.
Yeah, I agree.
I like the idea of the carbon having a matte look to it, rather than a polished finish. I think that just adds that air of quality to it and makes it a little bit different.
Yeah. No,
again, the headlights matching the body colour, again, it makes it look fresh, sleeker. We mentioned the grille. I think that's a very focus point on it with a 620 nose cone. It's a lovely looking car with some great materials. All that makes it a little bit different.
Absolutely.
to the other Caterhams in the range.
That's it. And you know, limited to 20 numbers for the UK. Is this something that you'd ever consider getting yourself in the future?
I would love to say yes, I would, if I had the budget to do so.
Of course, yeah.
Having known, say, as we said earlier, knowing that I've driven the range of Caterhams.
Correct, yeah.
This is sort of set in its own marketplace. A, being so unique. B, the bringing back of the CSR suspension and chassis. So it's a very different market to some of the other vehicles.
That's right.
Which can be either a track-focused car or a road-focused car. So looking forward, if you were going to do your touring, this is the perfect example.
There you go. And all the cars that you've driven, a lot of the examples are in here. Where would you sort of place this amongst your sort of, let's say, top 3? Where would you sort of place it?
I suppose, from my personal point of view, I've always had a soft spot for the 620. It's probably been a driving experience of no other. That combination of the power and the gearbox.
Yeah, it's very unique.
Very unique. However, not very usable on the road. Perfect for track. This would certainly be in the top 2.
Perfect.
Because I think you've got a combination of everything in this car.
Yeah, that's it. And what would be one thing you would change on this car if you had to?
I don't think there's anything particular I would change. It all then comes down to your personal preference, really.
End of the day, how you'd spec it. Is this quite similar to something you'd spec yourself? Would you do a brighter colour? Would you change anything spec-wise on these?
I think possibility I would change maybe striping to a brighter colour, so it was slightly more visible on the road.
Absolutely.
And that would probably include maybe repainting the roll bar. Maybe red and grey would make a great example.
There you go. There you go. But look, really appreciate you coming down here today. It's been great to have your views as someone who's been in the catering game for a long, long time, to see and experience the new of the CSR 20. Again, it brings us to the end of the video here at HWM. Thank you for watching. If you have any comments, please drop them down below. And thank you to Simon again for coming down here today.
Thank you again.
Pleasure.
Thanks for the opportunity. Thanks very much.